Welcome on into another week of the Benchwarmers. I'm Alex Anderson. Daniel is doing his real job, so you're stuck with me today. Thankfully, we have a very special guest to fill the void left from Mr. Brown. It's LSU's pilot head coach Brad Neffendorf, fresh from his visit to our nation's capital and the White House. Coach, thanks so much for taking some time, and how's it going, man?
Good, it's going on. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, we had to catch up with you after you made the trip to D.C. and got so many things I want to ask you when it comes to that. But I guess to start, I guess the simplest question is, how awesome was it, the experience as a whole?
No, it was great. Obviously the recognition has continued to pour on for our guys, but obviously that's deserved. And like I told our guys the other day, I don't think that should ever stop for what they did. Obviously, we've got a new year we got to focus on, but those guys deserve what they did. And when you take the recognition that they got, being able to go there and how they got to share another time together as a team and being able to do it the way that they did it, it was great. And it couldn't have gone any better than how it went the entire trip for the 2.5 days that we were there.
Well, I know you started with a little reception that first night you were there. I guess let's start there, man. I mean, getting to kind of, rub elbows with some lawmakers and Speaker Mike Johnson. What was that reception experience like for you guys?
Oh, it was good because obviously, 20 minutes before we got on the bus to go there was, when everybody started gathering up down in the hotel and, some guys were kind of, because we took 2 different flights with the guys that flew with us from out of here. And then there was a coach and 4 other players that they flew in from, the states that they were in. So, a lot of us hadn't seen each other yet because both flights had been getting in on different times. So that was great. And then we got there. We were there for a few hours. And obviously LSU had flown in, in the way that they did, chartering. I think they flew into Baltimore, so it took them a little bit of time to get there. So once everybody got there and, obviously getting some time to, talk with Mike Johnson and his crew and everybody that was there, it was a really good deal just to be able to start the event off the way that it went.
And how cool is it that, someone like the Speaker of the House, right? I mean, we know he's from here and what he said at the ceremony about getting to be able to go out and on the field and play and all that stuff was so cool. But just the fact that he cared enough to say, hey, this is significant and we need to get these guys here and honor them.
No, it was awesome, and obviously, like you said, it helps. I think from the fact that he's from here. He even talked about the fact, like you said, he's been on our field before, and he grew up right around the corner. And obviously, this is still his roots and where he's from. So, no, that was good. Like I said, the whole entire experience, and especially starting with that day, it was great. But they treated us exceptionally well, and they're very comfortable to be around. They might be having high-ranking jobs and helping run our country, but they're no different, especially the way that they treated everybody.
Right, and I love that. You throw politics out of the window. We're talking about people here, right? And a special couple of days for a couple of teams that were very deserving. And then you have the day of the White House visit. You get a tour of the Capitol building from Speaker Johnson. I mean, that had to be. I mean, I'm a history guy, so that had to be one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, no, it was good. And there was nobody else really around because of obviously what's going on with the shutdown and whatnot. So we basically had the whole thing to ourselves. They did a great job, and I think it gave a little bit more, availability for us to kind of stay there as long as they wanted and show us things as long as they wanted and take us where they wanted. And obviously, then they kind of finished up that part, taking us down the street to lunch before we, got dropped off at the White House. So no, it was great. And I don't know enough about history,
right,
without being reminded of some of the things. And it was, just to be able to be there and be a part of it. It was, something not a lot can say that they've ever been a part of.
And then, of course, you have the White House visit, and you're standing there, you and Coach Jay Johnson flanking the president as he sings your praises and talks about the season for both of you guys. We were showing it live here on our show in the 3 o'clock hour, and I mean, I was having to pinch myself a little bit just seeing you standing there and seeing all the guys behind. There had to have been some nerves rolling through when you're standing up on that stage. Take me through that.
Honestly, I mean, maybe for obviously I had to speak, so maybe for the first second or so, but I'll be honest with you, just the way that they went about how they had it organized, and then, Trump is exactly the way that, he is on TV, and he any nerves that you might have, they're gone by the second he comes out and you start talking. Because they actually had Jay and I in a separate room because of how we're going to be walking out with him. And, just the way he came in and started talking to us about baseball and kind of held the thing up from starting when it was supposed to because he wanted to keep talking. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better, in regards to, nerves just that you may have had leaving you just because of how comfortable him and his staff make you feel.
So he came and spoke to you guys before you went out there. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
What was that, a pinch yourself moment? Like, man, I'm just kind of sitting here shooting the breeze with the president.
Yeah, I mean, you thought it was going to be, but then when he walked in, and they gave us a heads up that, so they had us in a separate room because the teams walked out team by team. And then, obviously, as you saw, we walked out with him. And, he was already a couple minutes late from whatever was going on. And he came in, and we were in that blue room in the middle of the first, or I guess that's the second floor. And he came in, just immediately, introduced and shook hands and started talking about baseball and Shohei Ohtani. And it was, it was really good. I mean, you don't really grasp the concept or the fact that you're talking to the president while you're having a conversation with him because the conversation is so comfortable.
Yeah, and it seemed that way even on stage, kind of the way he was rolling through stuff, and you could tell he's definitely dialed into the sports scene. It was just so cool. Like I said, throwing all the politics out the window, it was just so fascinating to see the president of the United States telling us about how the Pilots season went. It was crazy. What were some of the guys? What were some of their reactions? I'm sure they were floored by everything.
Yeah, they were, and as you would expect them to be. I mean, obviously. Some of them, I think all of them. I don't think any of them had ever been too close to the White House before, and that's probably a first and a last being able to do that for them. So, obviously being able to do that, being able to do it, with the guys that they did something that's never been done together with before. Just everything, the way it was tied in, I think it made it a moment, obviously, regardless, that they're never going to forget, but being able to do it with that group that did what they did last year, and being together back again for another time. Obviously we were missing a few, I think 5 or 6 players, and a coach, but they were blown away. They still talk about it. Obviously they're still waiting for a few more of the pictures to come out that the White House actually took, because we released ours. So, they're still posting stuff about it. And, obviously it was, and then we ended it by being able to, obviously, what you're probably going to, being able to get them the rings that night. So, the situation itself, I couldn't be more happy for them, what they were able to experience.
Yeah, and you mentioned it in the speech as well, and I thought that was such a cool part of it. Just saying, so appreciative that you had a reason for the boys to come together, because sports is a never-ending cycle here, man. And you mentioned it earlier, you got to move on to the next year and start getting ready for the next team. Just to be able to have one last hurrah with those guys, I'm sure it just meant the world, even outside of all the cool stuff you were doing.
Yeah, there's no doubt, because obviously, it worked itself out. We've been trying to find a way to get them back on campus, all of them, if not the majority of them, to be able to recognize them here with what they did, and be able to get them the rings that had already come in. And due to the time that we were trying to organize that to make that happen, that was going to be extremely tough. And it worked out that, this time being able to get 90% of those guys there, it provided us, an opportunity to do some more with them. From a recognition standpoint, with them being together. So no, obviously the entire thing, and it was a great deal.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. Like from our perspective, just sitting here watching it, like I said, it was like we couldn't believe it. I mean, everyone in the studio and upstairs were just like, "What? This is the coolest thing we've ever seen." I mean,
it was.
Yeah,
it was. I keep getting asked about, just my communication with Trump, and obviously something I'll never be able to get to do again, but I guarantee you, if he saw me again, that just my gauge of who he was and how he was with how he treated everybody, he'd recognize me. But that's the way he made you feel. I mean, he would with those guys too. I mean, he made the day with his staff extremely, it was a great deal, because obviously he's a guy that loves sports.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And you can kind of get that sense, right? I mean, and I've heard that about him before from other people who have had the chance to be around him. So that's just so awesome. And I did want to talk about, being around LSU, right? I mean, we're talking about the College World Series champs, Jay Johnson, one of the best baseball coaches in the country, if not the best at that level. I kind of laughed to myself when they let him talk first. I was like, well, he's a little more trained at this, right? I felt like
Oh, he's a public speaker. I mean,
exactly. So I was like, why didn't we let Coach go first? But how was it to try to follow him up?
I thought it was good. Obviously, you get your points that you're going to talk on, and it allows you, and you're around somebody like that that's so successful, that's actually been at this level before. That's where his first head coaching job was at Point Loma several years ago at this level. And obviously he's continued to work himself up with an unbelievable amount of success. Yes, he is very well trained in it. I think that's part of why his teams are what they are, because obviously they're a complete reflection of him and how successful and how he goes about things. So I actually had no problem. You got to look at it one or two ways. You go first, and then you get somebody that comes in and does it way better than you, or you let somebody who does it way better than you, and then you come in and you can even piggyback off some of the things that he said. And I think that allowed me, which obviously we had our points that we're going to talk on anyways, but, I was actually fine with him going first. I think it was probably the better deal with having him go first because of who he is and how he does it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, to your credit, you knocked it out of the park, man. I mean, it was there was didn't sense any nerves. I mean, you just got up there and did your thing, and I can't remember the word. Oh yeah, when you said the boys were jacked up or they were jacked about it, we all kind of chuckled in here because that was just such a a Coach Neffendorf thing to say. Yeah. It was lovely. How much did you think about that speech? How much prep did you do when it went into that?
It's funny you asked that. Because you probably saw sheets of paper in my hand. Yep. So originally, a few days before, they wanted us to write our speech out and send it in to them, which I can understand why. They wanted to screen it, make sure that we had the right things that we were going to give remarks on. So I was trying to find out before we got there, so the speech that we written, are we reading it off a teleprompter? Do we have to bring a copy with us? Like, how's this going to go about? When we got there, there was a girl handling us in regards to that situation. So I asked her, I was like, well, how are we going about this? And she goes, oh, no, we just want to make sure that you had, the right things in there, and we got a chance to look at it. And she's like, well, you can do whatever you want. And I'm going, okay. She's like, well, I'm going to print you a copy. She's like, you tell me what you want to do with the copy. Do you want me to give it to you, or do you want me to have it up there? He's going to have a binder with his stuff, and we'll put it underneath the binder. And I was like, well, sure, print me the copy, but I don't want to pull it out from underneath his binder, so just give it to me. So I folded it up, put it in my pocket, and then I looked at Jay and I go, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm just going to wing it. I was like, well, man, I can't let this guy I can't let him just wing it. And so I'm sitting up there trying to anticipate what I'm going to do, and I pulled it out, and when I put it down, it actually is the reason why, if you go back and listen, I think I said instead of first off, because I started saying first off, thought I said first half, and I was like, gosh dang it. It's because I was trying to read off the stupid thing to begin with, and then I put it on top of his binder, and he's got those clear sheets, and it kept sliding it down. So I just took it. I was like, I'm not doing this. So I just went with it, and it was probably better that I went with it, because if I tried to read off that thing and whatnot, I would have jacked the whole thing up. So it ended up working out well, because you only had 2 minutes anyway. So, right. But I was for 3 days. And then when I got there, it's like, well, what was the point other than looking at it, to come up with this thing? And so, I mean, it ended up working out just fine.
It's very relatable to me because, obviously we're right in the thick of high school football season, right? And we do the show every Friday. And, dude, I spend Monday through Thursday meticulously planning this show and writing stuff out, writing scripts and yada, yada, yada. Lights come on. I don't say any of it. I just wing the whole dang thing. And so it's just the way it goes. It's good to be prepared, but it's also good to be able to think on your toes. And it's just so funny to me to think about, like, I mean, just for you personally, you think back even, 1 year ago from this moment, there is no chance you ever thought you would be stressing about making a speech for the White House.
No, and it's funny you brought that up, because I was talking to Jeremy Kennedy down at Loyola today just about some other stuff, and I don't remember how it came up, and there's something to do with schedules. And I, obviously I was, fortunate enough to receive, because of our guys, the Skip Burtman Award, and that's literally in the middle of the first month of our season. So we had to readjust our schedule, and I'm obviously going to have to talk there. And there's some, I mean, you're talking about the National College Baseball Hall of Fame, and they're inducting Mark McGuire that weekend, and Steven Strasburg, and even Scott Boras, the best sports agent ever. And I don't know what we were talking about, some of the speech. I was like, man, I'm not worried about anything. I mean, I just got done speaking with Trump next to me, so I'll that should be okay. But no, it's just like practice plans, man. You get out here and you got a whole plan. If something goes wrong, we end up shifting and doing something else, outside of the plan that we always got, and that's but that's part of dealing with who we are and how we do things. You got to be able to adjust and be all right with it.
That's it, man. Love it. Well, we're getting ready to wrap things up. We got about a little under 5 minutes before we have to say goodbye. But I did want to ask, obviously, you're turning the page. A new season's on the horizon for these guys. And what can you tell us about the next edition of the pilot so far?
It's got a chance to be really good. I think if things come together and click and we can play together as a team, like the way we were able to last year, which, that's a possibility. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that were familiar with each other. Obviously we lost a lot. What we brought back was pretty much our depth from last year, outside of a few arms that had some major impact with us, with Brock Lucas and David Hankins and Calvin Shepard. But in regards to like significant pieces, in regards to playing time, they were kind of just depth and spot starters last year. Good players that, are providing some things for us right now. Our roster, if you look at it, is probably our most physical. It's probably our most powerful. It's probably, our most athletic. It's the fastest we've ever been. I think we've got a chance to really, over time, put ourselves in position to be extremely successful again. It's just going to be a matter of time. The fall has been a little bit up and down, but then again, last fall was brutal at times, and that's what the fall is about, how it is. I think we'll put ourselves in position. As long as we keep getting better, we have a roster bearing all the things that could happen that could put us in a chance to make a run to get back and play deep into the into the World Series. And so I really do like it, though. I think on paper, it's one of the better rosters that we've ever had here.
Love it. Well, we're so excited. We can't wait for the season to get going. And we got just over a minute left. So quickly, what do you think that first game is going to be like from a fan standpoint, right? I mean, the interest in you guys is higher than it's ever been.
I would anticipate that there could be, a good crowd, especially early on, not, other than basketball, not a lot going on. And, what I'll end with is we're playing the one team that, if you look back at our schedule last year, we got 3 games at Tabor, and they're the one team that is probably who played their best game against us last year in regards to an opponent. And our worst game, obviously they were up 6-2 with 4 outs to go, and we were able to come back and walk them off. And they're always a very competitive opponent, and their head coach Mark Staniford does a great job. So I anticipate them, based off that game and what they know that we haven't been, it hasn't happened in a while now for since the 2024 season. I think it'd be a very competitive season. So I believe there'll be a good crowd here, and I think rightfully so it'll be here until we prove that we don't, that we're not doing the things that we should to have enough people here.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you, I promise we'll be there. We cannot wait, Coach. And look, man, I know you got so much going on. Really appreciate you taking the time to be able to chat with us here today.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you here in a couple months.
All right, we'll be there. Coach Brad Neffendorf, head coach of the undefeated LSUS Pilots and friend of President Donald Trump. Why not? We can say that now, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, Coach. We appreciate your time, man. We'll catch up with you soon. And thanks to you out there for listening to us here on the Benchwarmers. Obviously, we've shuffled things around the way we do this show. So we're under the 19-minute time requirement now. So if you're watching us on KTBS Plus, you can find this show wherever you get any of your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, ktbs.com, if you want to listen on the go and not wait until it shows up on your television screens. We do this thing every week. A new episode comes out every Wednesday. It's just one of many KTBS podcast projects. So we hope you tune in the future, and thanks for hanging out with us here on the Benchwarmers.